What's up, homies? My name's Daniel, and today I wanted to talk about living your most authentic life and also like being hindered by shame in achieving that. Um, I feel like for a large part of my life, I've kind of just carried shame, embarrassment, and there's different like ways you can describe it, but I'm just gonna say shame for today. But I've kind of just carried that with me, and it's kind of prevented me in doing a lot of things that I probably would have benefited from or I would have enjoyed doing. In the last like 2 years, I've definitely moved into being a more authentic version of myself. And I feel like as you age, you kind of go from I think the way you kind of grow up is like you're a kid, you're most you. And then as you become like a teenager, go through high school and everything, you kind of start thinking that a lot of the things that you do are pretty cringy and like you feel that shame in things you like I remember in middle school all my friends were like starting to like other stuff. I don't really remember, like Call of Duty or playing other random stuff, and like one of my friends and I would just be sitting there in class like talking about Pokemon and what the next Pokemon would be. And like I distinctly remember being in 6th grade and talking to my friend about Pokemon X and Y and how much fun I was having with it, and then another one of my friends who wasn't really into Pokemon and like was more into like COD and all sorts of other stuff, walking over and like being like, yo, what are you guys talking about? Me just being like, nothing, and just being really ashamed of that for no reason. But so like I feel like as a kid you have no shame, you kind of just do whatever you want, right? You're just yourself, you're expressing yourself fully, you're discovering what you like, what you don't like. Then as you kind of reach your teenage years, you kind of just feel embarrassed about a lot of that. You kind of feel a little cringy. Maybe you grow out of some stuff, which is also fine. And then once you become an adult, your brain starts developing fully. My frontal lobe is doing that currently, I think. You kind of realize that like that shame isn't really there, and your most authentic self is just who you were as a kid. So like the last 2 years, I've kind of just gone back to everything I used to like as a kid. Like even doing this video right now, this is my first YouTube video, feels kind of cringy, but I mean, it's kind of just my thoughts and like what I'm feeling. So there isn't really a reason to feel any shame in that. I'm really mostly inspired by, I have 2 friends that I'd like to talk about today. So shout out Ronnie, the TikTok DJ, if you guys have seen her before. She's a friend from Twitter. And then shout out Aiden. Ronnie, the TikTok DJ, like I'm so inspired by how just authentic in herself she is. I used to follow her on Twitter originally, and that's kind of how I know her. But she blew up on TikTok because she just does like these little DJ sets, and she just has so much fun with them. And like I don't know if you guys have seen her, but she has all these little things. Everybody has these jokes about like they love when she slides the wolf, or like she like bops the apple, and she kind of just it's just fun. It's just her. I don't really know how else to explain it, but you guys will just have to go find the videos and see what I'm talking about. But she also started posting YouTube videos, and she just kind of does the same kind of thing. Like she talks about her mind, her feelings, and whenever I see things like that, it's really inspiring. And then like there's also my friend Aiden. Like he is such a commanding presence whenever he's up in front of people. Like for my birthday last month, we went out to some bars with some friends, and it's kind of like a weird vibe. I'm not much of a like go out and party kind of guy, honestly, but the bar's kind of weird. Like it's got different rooms and everything, and I think Aiden doesn't necessarily like it, but seeing him like there, you wouldn't be able to tell, because that motherfucker was like, he'd go out to the dance floor, go absolutely crazy, hit crazy moves and everything, just dance for like 30 minutes, and then he'd like run over to me and be like, this place is evil and it must burn, and then he'd just run off and just go smoke a cigarette. And it's just so him. And then also for his birthday, we went and did karaoke, and he just killed it. Like it wasn't even a contest. Like everybody else was doing karaoke, that guy was singing his heart out and performing for everybody. And both of them are so just themselves and so authentic to who they are that it really inspires me. And so I kind of wanted to start doing like YouTube videos to talk about what I'm feeling, thoughts, yap, because I like to yap sometimes, honestly. But this is also something that I'm not like super comfortable with. like I mentioned earlier, I just feel kind of cringy about talking into a camera, just because I've never done it before. But like, funnily enough, like on Twitter, I tweet all the time. I am just shit posting 24/7. I've done it for the last couple of years, and I'd say very like intimate and detailed stuff. Like, I just overshare all the time on there, but it's just where I've been comfortable at, and I don't really feel any shame in doing that. But for whatever one reason or another, like on camera, I kind of do. So, another thing that I wanted to say was like, with bringing up my two friends, was it's funny because I'll kind of see somebody else doing something that I would feel so much shame in doing. Like, I would feel so embarrassed going up into a crowd and just like dancing or doing whatever. But whenever I see other people, I'm like, God damn, that's the coolest thing ever. And for some reason, I can't like apply that same kind of just respect and admiration for myself. So I guess that's something I just gotta move past, just kind of slowly put myself out there a little bit more. One thing I'm doing this year is I used to coach for a wrestling team. I grew up wrestling. That was a big part of my life. And then once I graduated high school, I didn't really want to wrestle in college, but I wound up, just by chance, honestly, I wasn't really going to do it, but somebody asked me to help, and I wound up coaching the last couple of years. And that was really fulfilling. I really enjoyed it, but I definitely feel like I've kind of outgrown that stage of my life. I really appreciate that time, but I'd wanted to do jiu-jitsu for a little bit and maybe venture into MMA, but I never did because like going to a new gym and meeting new people and trying something that I've never done before is just kind of uncomfortable. Like, a lot of new stuff thrown in your face. I wouldn't be as good as I am at wrestling, and I just kind of had built my community up in that wrestling community at home, and so I knew everybody knows me. I know like what I'm talking about when I'm wrestling. And so this year I decided to kind of step back from coaching, move into jiu-jitsu, which previously would have been something that was really embarrassing. And there's a lot of different things that I've kind of just avoided doing just because of that. And it's like little things too. I try not to live my life with any regrets, just because in my mind, like, I've only ever had like one path that could venture down, and even if things could have gone differently for me, I would be somebody completely different. So I like to not look back on things and really regret them, but I can admit that there's different things that I didn't do because of shame or embarrassment, or I wasn't really being me fully. So like an example would be, it's like a little one, but typically like I'll see somebody, they have like maybe like a cool shirt or something, or they're like playing an instrument somewhere, or I have a question to ask or something like that, but I'm too embarrassed to just go up to them and talk. And it's dumb because most of the time people are excited to talk about what they do, what they like, and nobody's really going to tell you to like just fuck off, basically. So just little things like that. I went on a big trip through Europe a couple months ago, and I really worked on that a lot, just kind of putting myself out there, because I was with my dad for like 2 weeks, and then I was with some cousins for parts of it, but for the most part I was there by myself, just kind of wandering through Europe for 2 months. And in some of the countries it was a little harder, obviously, because of the language barrier. But as soon as I got to Spain, that had been like a month and a half of me just like kind of trying to speak with people and really feeling like a dumb American, because every time I'd have to walk up and be like, do you speak English? But once I got to Spain, I speak Spanish. So I was like, ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo te ha ido? ¿Qué tal la cosa por acá? Or whatever, I don't know. For all you bilingual kings and queens out there could get that, I guess. I don't know. But I would just walk up to people, and like somebody would be sitting in a bench, and I'd be like, oh, do you mind if I sit here? And then I'd just ask them if they're from around there. I'd just ask them random questions. And that was like really big for me. In the past, I just stay quiet. I'm more reserved, a little quieter. I don't really go out of my way to talk to people unless I absolutely have to. And a lot of times when I do talk to people, it's kind of something where I'm like thinking 20 steps ahead and trying to do fucking 3D chess with them for some reason. Like, if they say something, I have to say this, and then if they respond this way, then I'll say this thing. And it's really silly. Like, I'm not being myself, not being authentic. But the last, like, 2 years, I've kind of started moving towards that a little bit more. Going back to, like, that embracing your inner child thing, I think that's a big thing, because, like, 2 years ago, you always try to play up to the image of yourself that you have in your head, right? Like, you might think that you are this thing or another thing, and it might be true and it might not be true, but depending on what you think of yourself, that's what you're going to reflect onto the world. So for a while, like, it was just like teenage angst, dumb stuff, and I just thought like I was a bad person for whatever reason. And so obviously, like, my confidence was really low. Like I said, I'm pretty reserved and, like, introverted, so I wouldn't really talk to people. COVID kind of hit, so I was locked up a little bit more and would just talk to my friends on Discord and everything, like, basically never talk to anybody. So when everything started kind of opening back up and I started going out a little bit more, I felt like I had just, like, lost any social ability that I had ever, was just gone all of a sudden. And I kind of, for a while, like, I played into that. Like, in my head, it was like, yeah, I am a quiet person. I am introverted. I can't really just go up to somebody and talk to them. And I just carried this great shame in everything that I did. Even with my hobbies, like, when I was little, like, with the Pokemon and stuff like that, or I started drawing, and for whatever reason, I just thought, because I draw a lot of, like, more anime related stuff. I really like anime. And for the longest time, I was, like, really ashamed of that for whatever reason. And whenever I talked to people about it, I was almost, like, guarded against somebody making fun of me or whatever. But, like, 2 years ago, I started being more myself. And then for one reason or another, there was some wacky shenanigans that I'll have to lore drop about eventually. But nothing, like, really serious. But I just kind of felt like I got disconnected from myself. And then since then, I've been kind of trying to find that authenticity again. There was, like, a little time period where, I don't know if a lot of you guys might follow me on Twitter, because I'll post about this on Twitter later, but for a while, like, my tweets were blowing up and everything, and people were really drawn to me just speaking my mind and being all joyous and whimsical and all that, you know? And people, I think, really crave that authenticity, especially nowadays. But after a little bit, I felt like I was just kind of performing, and I wasn't really being true to myself. And I kind of fell out of that authenticity, and I've been kind of trying to just recreate that again. And I won't be able to recreate the same thing, because I'm always changing. Like, there's that, I forget how the quote goes exactly, but there's that, like, Adventure Time episode where Jake and, like, his brother are talking about, like, things always changing and all that, and then he says that one quote where it's like, as long as I know the shape of my soul, I'll be all right. And I think for the most part, I've kind of pieced together what my soul looks like, what that shape is, and now I'm kind of ready to just keep changing, keep growing, and overcome that shame. Like I said, there's so many things that I've just not done, just purely off of being ashamed, being embarrassed. But I think this year, the 2025 is a year of fighting against shame, guys. Okay, that's the goal for all you guys. But yeah, like, I've just been really inspired by the people around me, especially, like, my Twitter friend and Aiden, because they're just so themselves. And I think doing this will be good for me, just speaking my mind, sharing my thoughts a little bit more on a platform I'm not really comfortable with, fighting back against some of that shame, because, like, this is just cringe to me. I don't know. I'm not really used to just talking on camera, so hopefully this can resonate with some of you guys. Like, obviously, that's just a universal thing. Everybody has the things that they're embarrassed about, but I think the biggest way to fight against shame is to just do things scared, you know? Even if, like, I'm really nervous about doing something or really anxious about doing something, if you just kind of let that paralyze you, not do the things you want to do, you're going to stagnate. And to me, that's an even bigger driver than shame, honestly. Just the fear of staying the same or letting people down. Because in my head, if there's ever a day where I'm sitting here in front of you guys and I'm like, guys, things aren't like how they used to be, okay? Remember high school? I remember high school. Remember like, I don't know, like homecoming? I remember. I want you guys to take me out back and just put me down like a dog, okay? Because it's over for me. It's no coming back from that. I don't want to peak in high school. I don't want to peak right now, even. I want to constantly just keep shooting up. There might be like little dips and valleys, but that's just how life is, okay? But we're always moving up. And a big way to do that is just do things scared, do things ashamed. And another thing I've kind of done in the past is I just tell people what my goals are. Like, for example, when I used to wrestle, my biggest dream was to win a state title. And every single year I was in high school, I made a bet with my friend. I was like, dude, I'll bet you $50 I'm winning state this year. And it was the dumbest thing ever because like I wound up losing it 3 years in a row, but and I had to pay him like $150. But then my senior year, I did wind up accomplishing my goal. And you just have to have that faith in yourself, or not even really faith, because it's a split thing, right? Like I had that faith in myself. Even if I had doubts though, I had vocalized those dreams, those goals, those aspirations to somebody else. And that kind of keeps you accountable, because now I'm not only fighting against the shame of like, what if I don't accomplish this? Or what if things don't go the way I want them to? But now it's also the shame of letting somebody down. So I think you just have to kind of take that shame and just kind of make it work for you. I used to read the Game of Thrones books when I was little, and like middle school, beginning of high school. And I forget who said it. I feel like it's like Ned Stark or something, but it's just that quote about you can only be brave when you're afraid. And I really try to take that to heart. Cause you just use those nerves as adrenaline, use those nerves to guide you. And then it's just the driving force, right? Like something else, like the other day I told my friends about these YouTube videos, because in my head I'm always thinking about doing different things. Like I've probably thought about doing like posting YouTube videos for like a year now. Mostly because I feel like AI content is kind of increasing, and personally I was a huge fan of video essays on literally anything, like video games or anime or movies or stuff like that. Any chance that I could get to watch a video essay, I would watch it at work or listen to it at work for 8 hours on end. Like, especially the longer they are, the better. Like if I get there's this one account that posts like video game history stuff, and they have this video on like the entire history of video games, and it's like 10 hours long, and I love videos like that. But the last couple of months I feel like more people are getting into that market and doing more video essays, but they're all using ChatGPT. And it's really easy to tell for me now that people use ChatGPT because it has a really specific cadence and way it describes things. Like if it was talking about Adventure Time, it would be like, Adventure Time is a 2010 Cartoon Network show that delves into the complexities of growing up and themes of something. And they all started sounding like that. So within the last couple months, I've just kind of tried to listen to more accounts that are just kind of like this, like just sit down in front of a camera, no script, just kind of yap, because that feels more human. And right now, like I feel like the internet is just kind of bot infested, and it's just lacking that authenticity, you know? So yeah, I think that's really all the thoughts I had for today. It's just to keep fighting against that shame, and just do things scared, and let that shame kind of push you forward in some ways. You got to just kind of use it as a tool, I guess. But the biggest thing is just kind of learning lessons. You can't really live life always scared of what ifs and what could go wrong. Because the only way to learn a lesson is to just mess up, right? So I think this year, 2025, is the year of pushing past shame, doing what the things I want to do, and just learning from my mistakes. Any mistake, like even if it's something dumb, like I walk up to some random person and I stumble over my words because I tend to do that sometimes. But you just laugh it off, right? Like awkwardness isn't gonna kill you, shame isn't gonna kill you. You just work through it, and I think that's a good thing. That's the way to grow and keep improving as a person, and just kind of get to experience more things. Because like when I was in Europe, I heard some people talking Spanish behind me at the Vatican, and I was like, oh, where are you guys from, blah blah blah, and I just started talking to them, and I wound up like going to the top of St. Peter's Basilica with some rando Colombian who was actually from the same town that my mom is from. And I don't even remember the guy's name or anything, but like it's just like a cool memory I have now. So shame just inhibits lots of random experiences, lots of dad lore. Okay, so you got to start doing things for the plot, you got to push past it. And yeah, that's all I got for now. So thanks for watching, homies, and I'll try to start posting videos weekly, maybe twice a week. We'll see, depending on what kind of things I want to talk about. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.